May 30th. My name is Raj Palecha. Welcome to Global Beat Radio, the radio show of the students of the Institute on Globalization and the Human Condition at McMaster University. Welcome to part 1 of 2 of a special episode. On Monday, May 28th, the Institute on Globalization held its annual MRP Colloquium, in which Globalization M.A. students discussed their major research projects, including their topics, why they are interested in them, and their research to date. In addition to Globalization M.A. students, supervisors were in attendance also. The purpose of the colloquium was for students and supervisors to offer each other feedback. Due to the interdisciplinary nature of the program, the only criterion for students to follow was for their papers to relate to globalization in some way. What follows is a discussion of 4 of those MRP topics. First, Rami Abu-Zeidan of the Water Without Borders program associated with the UN University Institute on Water, Environment, and Health discusses the effects of water disasters around the world, and particularly their effects on the mental health of those who suffer because of them. Second, Kashfah Chowdhury discusses fair trade issues, particularly coffee, and the differences between approaching the issue socially and through marketing. Third, Abimbola Fajobi discusses the refugee situation in East Africa and the response of non-governmental organizations to events like last year's famine in the region. Finally, Amber Merucci discusses the prospects of achieving cosmopolitan societies in spite of the rise of tensions in a post-9/11 world.
Having completed the MRP Colloquium, we have a guest here with us. Do you mind giving us your name and the topic of your MRP?
Sure. My name is Rami Abu-Zeidan, and the title of my MRP so far is Mental Health and Psychosocial Well-Being, Extreme Events and Urbanization, a Review from a Cross-Cultural Perspective.
That sounds like a really interesting topic. Do you mind maybe telling us a bit about it?
Sure. So basically, I'm trying to look at the mental health effects of people affected by extreme weather events, more specifically flooding events.
So why is it that this topic interests you? What is it about that grabbed you right away?
Well, the mental health aspect is influenced by my academic background during undergrad in psychology, and I was hoping to extend this interest to my current master's program within globalization studies. Because in globalization studies, we are encouraged to take a wider lens approach to understand the events in the world. So I thought it would be a good experience to try to incorporate my undergrad experience into my master's and try to look at mental health and the global influence of mental health.
And so do you think, in what way do you think this might contribute to maybe development, to mental health in a global perspective? What do you think like the long-term implications of your research might be?
Mm-hmm. Well, mental health is often overlooked in the literature. Some reasons for this is because it's difficult to quantify, and a lot of research likes to deal in numbers, and this is particularly difficult with mental health because it's a qualitative in nature. Also, researchers tend to shy away from mental health research because it takes a lot of time to really understand the full effects of a mental health event. And this is something that has to be studied over many years and sometimes decades. So basically what I want to do in this MRP is to add value to the literature and suggest ways that we can change the way we can view mental health in the context of extreme weather events. I hope to make some policy recommendations to improve the mental health policies that are in place for victims of flooding events.
So of all the natural disaster issues to look at, why flooding events? Why was that something that was important?
Well, I believe that flooding is a good candidate to study mental health because in a recent report by the Red Cross, they said that 45% of all global natural disasters are caused by flooding events. And flooding events, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, have forecasted that flooding events are forecasted to increase in intensity, duration, and frequency.
Great, that's a really interesting topic, and we really look forward to reading your major research paper in the end. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Adnan.
I'm Kashfah Chowdhury, and my topic is fair trade and its challenges.
Hi Kashfah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So can you tell us what interests you about your research?
Well, first, I got interested in it because I'm from commerce background. Like, I did my undergrad in BBA, but when I studied fair trade, from BBA perspective, I only looked at it as a marketing tool. But when I took my international trade and development studies course last term, I saw the whole perspective from a social aspect, and that's why I got interested in this subject.
Were there any particular courses that you took that drew you into this topic?
Yeah, the course that I took last term, that international trade and economic development. Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Like, the course was like how we can like incorporate social responsibility through business, and it's like not CSR but sustainable development, like how it can bring long-term development in the economy and in the society.
Okay, and this is different from your marketing background.
Yeah.
How so?
Like, in my marketing like business ethics course, all we read about fair trade being a business tool or being a marketing tool which actually helps corporations to gain more profits rather than being like socially responsible movement or socially responsible actions from the companies.
Okay.
So,
now can you tell us what your research topic is about?
I'm concentrating more on the challenges that the movement is facing, because like it has like both ends, like the social aspect of it and the business aspect of it, and because of these dynamics, like this movement is currently like what I feel like it's stuck in the moment. The fair trade products, it's still a very niche market, and the consumers they don't know about this subject at all. Like, most of the consumers, they don't know about this product, and they buy it because of the purchase of point, at the point purchase. Like, they're not loyal to the movement. So I'm concentrating on like how the consumers can be loyal to the movement and how this movement can move forward with inclusion of the MNCs, like the multinational companies. Yeah.
Are you focusing on a specific fair trade product?
Yeah, I'm focusing mainly on fair trade coffee, but I'm not like specifying any countries, because I'm trying to look at different countries under different conditions.
Yeah.
So I'm just specifying the product that's fair trade coffee.
Okay, and how are you incorporating the corporations into the fair trade movement? Are you going to be looking at the impact that fair trade has had on corporations?
Actually, it's the other way. Like, I'm trying to find out like how corporations actually influence the movement. Like, there's been like many research like how it's diluting the whole like prospect of like how it's a socially responsible movement, and now it's mainly becoming a marketing tool for corporations. But on the other side, the fair trade movement actually got its momentum by the inclusion of corporations.
Okay.
Like, it was really like a very small percentage of the market. Still, it is a small percentage, but it has increased because of the inclusion of Nestle, Cadbury, and like other big multinational corporations.
Okay.
So I'm trying to look at it from the both sides.
And do you think that the fair trade movement is actually harmful in that corporations are using it and to lure in consumers, but are not really being honest about how much of their products are fair trade?
Yeah, I feel that in many ways. Like, there are some companies, they have their own labeling, and the consumers who don't know about fair trade much, they think that those products are actually fair trade products, but where they're not maintaining the conditions of fair trade.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like cheating the consumers and getting the high prices. And it's also creating the market distortion. Like, the fair trade products, they're highly priced, and it's like creating a distort in the demand and supply of fair trade products.
And have corporations signed on to the fair? Have they incorporated the fair trade label?
Like, some of the companies, like not the big companies, they are like trying to like incorporate themselves within the fair trade movement, but others are just like creating labels of their own, like that is environment friendly product, or that is like environmentally sustainable product, and they have their own labeling systems, and that's been creating kind of like discrepancy within the movement, that I feel.
I know you haven't done so much research yet. It's only the preliminary stages, but from your research thus far, do you find that the fair trade movement that has an optimistic future, or is it more of a pessimistic future?
I am an optimistic person, so I feel like it can have an optimistic future.
Yeah.
But for that, we need to do a lot of work, and that is what I'm going to focus on in my research paper. Like, what can we do, or what can even the fair trade organizations do within the corporations, like with the members of the corporations, so that it can have a positive impact.
Another question I had was, do consumers buy into the fair trade movement? Are they, because I know it's a consumer-driven market, just like any other, but have they received support from consumers? And what are the limitations of the fair trade movement?
Yeah, like so far, the articles that I've read, that most of the consumers of fair trade, they are not loyal, and they're kind of like temporary. Like when they see the fair trade products on the shelves, while they're shopping, they think, okay, I'm going to buy something from fair trade and contribute to the society. Mm-hmm. So most of them actually don't know what is fair trade is all about. Okay. So the movement has a really small percentage of loyal customers, like who actually like regularly buy fair trade products. So because it's a consumer driven like movement, and because the consumers are not loyal, that's why the movement is being, what I feel is kind of stuck in the moment. Because like they need to make people aware of the movement and what it's doing. And most of the consumers who are currently buying products, they are all like restricted within the label. Like they know about fair trade products by reading the labels of the products. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've researched so far, that's how consumers know about fair trade, and their limitations like are within the labeling of the products.
So is that the only reason why consumers are not loyal, is because they are not educated about fair trade? What about pricing? Is that also a contributing factor?
Yeah, it's also a contributing factor, but because like you tell a student that whether you're going to buy a fair trade product or not, but a student is not going to buy a higher price tea. Okay. But what I feel like, I'll pay some like 50 cents or $1 higher for a fair trade product because I know the product, because I know the movement, and I'm like dedicated to the movement. Okay. So I feel if people were educated about the movement, then it would have been better.
Thank you so much, Kashfah, for joining us today.
Welcome.
Hi, we're here now after the MRP colloquium with another one of the Globalization students. Do you mind introducing yourself and your topic?
My name is Abimbola Fajobi, or Abby Fajobi, and my topic is the construction of protracted refugee situation and the response to Kenya's refugee camps.
Well, it's a really interesting topic. Do you mind maybe giving us a brief overview and a little bit of information on that topic?
Sure. The topic really focuses on the precarious situation of refugees in Kenyan camps, specifically Dadaab and Kakuma, and to look at how refugees have lived in these camps for at least 5 years, sometimes 15, or sometimes 20 years.
Your topic discusses the refugee issue. What is it about the refugees' circumstances in these camps that's so dire and that needs exploring?
So because these refugee camps that were created in Kenya were sort of created for temporary live-in, they were not created to stay there permanently. So the homes that were created for refugees were basically tents, and refugees are provided with very minimal access to education, food, water. So the way it was created for refugees, again, it was very temporary, and everything they were given is very minimal and is not up to par with what they actually deserve.
And in terms of this issue, do you see a particular direction or an outcome or maybe a solution to what's going on that maybe your research is kind of exposing?
I think it's really up to the international community, both northern and southern, to try to focus on how to improve the lives of refugees. So for refugees that have been there for a long time, the international communities to either find ways to resettle these refugees that stay there long term, or find other avenues where their standard of living is improved, where they do not feel like they're third-class citizens because they're given very minimal food, water, and access to basic things in life.
So what do you feel your research is going to add to this dialogue, this conversation regarding refugees in these camps? What do you see as it contributing?
I think one question we need to look at is to the future of this camp. So if these refugees are still in these camps 20, 30 years from now, what is going to happen to them? Are they still going to be resettled into other safe third countries, or we're going to look at camps that have existed 40, 50 years from now? Is that going to be an active response from the national community to actually do something, or they're just going to be left behind again as third-class citizens?
And how do you believe that this issue can gain enough traction or enough attention so that there is the required international response?
I think obviously the media will be good, in sort of exposing the topic of the protracted refugee situations in Kenyan camps, not just the policymakers of UNHCR and the northern states, but also the rest of the international community, quote-unquote international community, to actually try to understand what's going on and find ways to actually help refugees living there.
And what is it about this topic that interests you? Why did you select this topic to essentially dedicate your time and your research towards?
I wanted to look at how refugees were being treated in camps before they were resettled in U.S. or Canada or any safe third country. I wanted to look at how this protracted refugee situation sort of causes dehumanization for refugees living there, not just the living conditions they face, but also relating to gender and how some women are faced with rape or other sexual violence. So I thought it was particularly interesting to look back into the lifestyle of refugees before they were settled.
Great. We've had a great time listening to your topic, and we really look forward to the paper when it's completed. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hello, Amber. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, Caroline.
So can you tell us about your MRP topic?
So it's still kind of in editing, but it is looking at cultural cosmopolitanism in a risk society, and then focusing on cultural cosmopolitanism post 9/11.
So what do you mean by cultural cosmopolitanism?
So kind of looking at the pluralism of different cultures and ethnicities and that, and the idea of cosmopolitanism. So looking at, instead of trying to find similarities, looking at celebrating differences. And then with the idea of risk society being that we're constantly looking at risks and trying to prepare for risks, and looking at something as basic as insurance, and how we look at factors like age and gender and the neighborhood that you live in, and then kind of looking at securitization and militarization, and with that looking at like racial profiling and everything that comes along with what is considered to be risk, and a population that's at risk, or that could be a risky population in itself. So kind of looking at that within risk society. And then because of all the controversy and everything around this notion of terrorism and post 9/11, it's I think it's like really important to incorporate that, because we do have such a pluralistic society that and we often are made to do this kind of othering and this creation of the enemy, and kind of trying to look at how we can kind of step away from that and kind of dismantle those preconceived notions of the other.
Okay, so you think cultural cosmopolitanism can kind of alleviate this risk society, or kind of undermine it a little bit?
Well, the hope is that cultural cosmopolitanism can work to kind of create more peaceful dialogue and more understanding, as opposed to fear. And the idea of risk society, I think so long as risk is founded on things like racial profiling and the racialization of religion and things like that, cosmopolitanism can't flourish. So I think that there needs to be dismantling of risk society and how risk is kind of compiled, and how we look at risk in order to let cosmopolitanism kind of flourish.
Okay,
if that made sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. But I was wondering, a lot of people argue that the state gains its legitimacy by othering.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think this cosmopolitanism would affect the state in its legitimacy?
I think there would need to be a big transformation, and I think that there would need to be more open dialogue to allow people to see kind of the state and political agendas. I think, especially within the media, there is so much political agenda within that medium, and that medium is so, touches so many people that I think the open dialogue needs to break that down, because I think the state in itself isn't going to necessarily have open arms for this idea of cultural cosmopolitanism, because it does take away from that othering, and that's such an important piece to the militarization and securitization and this kind of big brother society that we live in. And so I think that the state, actually, we need to be having dialogue to kind of look at the state and look at the agenda in order to kind of bring that in and let that kind of surface.
Amber, can you please tell us why this topic interests you?
The topic interests me because there's a lot of, with the war on terror and everything, the idea of terrorism and terrorist acts is very focused on one racial group and one religion, and considering that, so many nations participate in terrorist acts, I think it's something that really needs to be kind of unpacked. And the idea of cosmopolitanism was kind of a new idea to me, so I really was interested in this idea of celebrating diversity instead of trying to find commonalities. Mm-hmm. And I think just with my social work background, this idea of, solution-focused paper is something that I was interested in, and I've always had kind of a passion for international human rights and that sort of thing, so it just kind of seemed like a great step.
And how did you become exposed to the concept of cosmopolitanism?
Peter's class, actually.
Peter Narish?
Yes. And I think we were having a discussion, and we were doing pros and cons of cosmopolitanism, and I was actually on the cons side, and but it really opened my eyes to a concept that I hadn't really been involved in before, so then I started looking into it and really appreciating it. So,
okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Segments were hosted by Kala Bengezi and Adnan Raja, editing and post-production by Molasha Savari, and a special thanks to Rami Abu-Zeidan, Kashfah Chowdhury, Abimbola Fajobi, Amber Merucci, and all of our other colleagues in the Institute on Globalization and the Human Condition. I'm Raj Palaja. Thanks for listening. That's our show for this week. Please remember to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/globalbeatcfmu and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/globalbeat_CFMU. We'd also love to hear from you. See you next Wednesday morning on Global Beat Radio.